And welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. I'm here with Paddy Jobsman, aka my brother from the same mother. How are you getting on?
All good. Thanks.
All good.
Thanks for having me for the first time.
Oh, the very first time. You know, if you went into the archives, you wouldn't find a smidgen of this lad around the Boombox. We're here with our first official sponsor of the podcast, actually. Frank and Honest Coffee reached out to me specifically and said, would you be able to get off your tits on some caffeine with our product on one of your podcasts? And I have to say, it's pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, they were just like, come down to Texaco, pick up 2, and bring them back on your bike, lad.
And make sure you're wearing that suit.
Yeah.
It's interesting, actually, because Gaffney swears by this. Shout out to Stephen Gaffney. He says it's the best coffee bar none.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good for machine coffee. I don't want to get too snobby with my coffee, you know what I mean? I actually like a nice McDonald's cup myself. If I'm
This lad will drink Maxwell House.
Yeah, Maxwell House. Doing sniffing lines of Maxwell House in the morning.
Yeah.
But it's just one of them things where I've tried to develop my coffee sort of palate in a way, or experience into the coffee domain very recently. I bought one of them, an espresso machines, or what do you, I think they're called
French press.
Not French press, the mocha pots.
Yeah.
Remember you seen the if now it was, I think the one Amazon gave me, shout out to Amazon, our second sponsor, is it was a bit faulty.
Shout out to Jeffrey Bezos.
Jeffrey Bezos.
What a man.
Oh, legendary man.
Oh, go on anyway. Sorry.
We have a whole section on Jeffrey later on. No, listen. But it was a bit faulty, so I couldn't get it working. But it made me realise I was putting all this effort into coffee, and I used to just be drinking the kind of instant stuff. You know what I mean? But then it was tea.
Yeah.
But then this morning, oh man! Obviously, this is great. Now we're doing the podcast in the morning, like a nice coffee and a podcast. It's like they go hand in hand.
Yeah. The worst was we had the pod machine. What is it? An espresso.
Oh, the crack
machine
that we bought for your birthday.
Yeah, and I just go out and make one in the morning, and then I just go, look, I'll just have another one and another one, and I just keep. I'd have like 4 or 5, and I'd be like having a panic attack at like 9:30 in the morning. And it's like, what's wrong with me? And you can actually drink too much coffee where it has diminishing returns, where you actually can't even focus, and the walls are closing in on you.
Oh yeah.
So we had to get rid of the machine.
Yeah, I've had severe anxiety brought about from coffee. When I was in Cardiff working in this little kitchen on my own during the day, I'd have a big massive coffee, and then I'm a real social person. I kind of neglected that part of my whole life for a period of time, and I could only see when I came back and was surrounded with people that angst was kind of lifted in a way.
Yeah.
But I'd have this big cup of coffee, and I'd be like, it brought on so much stuff, like elevated my hypochondria, my worry. Actually, my first bout with tinnitus.
Tinnitus?
Or tinnitus, or whatever how I pronounce it, which I'm actually suffering a bit from now. A little bit. I won't get into that.
This is fucking doom and gloom.
Do a shot every time you hear a bit of disease.
He was in the K-hole for fucking 6 months or so.
I was in the K-hole after a bout of severe anxiety and hypochondria, but coming back and doing some psychedelics with my friends sorted that out. But we won't get into that now. We're moving on from the coffee, we're moving on from the anxiety, and we're coming back to the main event of the evening, or the morning, Mr. Paddy Jobsman, who is an international businessman, according to his recent travel reports. I believe you did a stint in Malaga.
That's true, yeah.
What was the impetus for that?
Yeah, I wanted to trial living abroad on my own, and I tried to do it last year, failed miserably.
Oh yeah, tell us a bit about that.
I booked the Airbnb. This was because I ran a jobs board for 4.5 years, and then finished up with that, and I was like, right, fresh start. I'm gonna move to Spain and start the Paddy Jobsman enterprise, and booked an Airbnb. Little did I know that, it was a great little villa. Everything looked legit. And when I got there, and I had the, entire place to yourself, like that box has to be ticked. And I get there and there's a woman and her son living there, and she was like showing me around.
This is
and then
Eduardo.
She was like, this is your room here. I was like, my room? And then it turns out that it was a shared accommodation. It was a really nice place. And then, sure, the next day I was fecking, like, she was going off and I was feeding her dog. And
What?
I had booked it for 2 months, got a refund.
I didn't know you were actually you fed the dog.
Yeah, like, that's what I came, but like, I was part of the family, like, after a day.
Señor Paddy.
And that night I booked a flight, the next flight home. And it was in Seville, which is like southern Spain, middle of June, 42 degrees. Like, I just made a catalogue of errors, which were great lessons. And yeah, so I booked the nearest flight. Oh, there's a cat.
Anyway, let the cat in, it's grand.
I booked the nearest flight possible home, which was I got there on a Friday, left on the Tuesday. And so I always had it in my head, I want to give that a proper crack. So I booked 5 weeks in Malaga, just from May gone. And yeah, just had an apartment to myself, and it was just good to not have anyone like come in and distract you or take you away from what you want to do. So I wanted to just isolate myself and go monk mode and see, you know, what would happen if you just went hard at it for 30 days on your own, no distractions. And yeah, that was really it.
And what did you come away with that experience from?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not, like, I can't see myself living in a hot country, like, permanently. We're just not built for
Our
it.
ancestors were...
like, you couldn't go out in the middle of the day. Like, you go out in the morning, you go out in the evening. But midday, you'd be just in the shadows. What I like in terms of where I'd like to live in the future, it taught me that, because that was a massive apartment block. So I'd love like not a cabin in the woods, but, you know, an isolated house out in the, like, a little bit out in the countryside, but not too far, where
we're gonna sort out this cat.
we just pause it. Just, she's not gonna stop.
We're not gonna pause it.
She wants to go out. Like,
Meow meow.
she can't get out. Like.
Right, we'll be back after this little cat break. And while we're waiting, we'll bring up our other sponsor of the evening. It's Kind Nut Butter Bars. I don't know if you've seen these or heard about these, but apparently they're a kind of all-natural alternative to your run-of-the-mill protein bars that you see covered in all sorts of chemicals and shite. These are the ones, aren't they, Sean? Or Paddy,
yeah, use code Paddy for 20% off.
20% off your next purchase of Kind protein bars. So yeah, you're looking in the future potentially for that sweet isolation.
Yeah, like that.
Get away from me and everybody else.
No, just like like in the morning, just pure peace and quiet. Nothing, just peace.
Yeah.
So
no sort of pulls into other activities or anything that can pull you out of your flow in a way.
Yeah. There's a bit of that, but more just I just like to just be out in nature and just but close enough where, you know, the shops are only down the road. Yeah.
Like, you see, you want that cabin in the woods, but you want good internet as well.
Like half and half. Like.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum we find ourselves in, because, you know, all this modern technology that encapsulates us with so much value, it also makes us feel romantic for that cabin in the woods, you know. But then we forget, you know, Amazon doesn't deliver to the woods. Well, I'm sure it will very soon with the drone technology. The Wi-Fi isn't that great in the woods, and you could say, okay, but it's more natural to be in that state away from technology and stuff. But who cares, man? Right? Like, my life, from my point of view, is much more enhanced and better with technology. But I'm not saying that that's an argument against the cabin. I'm just saying that, you know, all romantic notions in our head, they're usually not what they're supposed to be. But I think in your circumstance, the cabin in the woods, for me looking in, it's just a way for you to be able to put more time into what you want to do, like with the Paddy enterprise in a way.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
There's definitely a bit of that. There's definitely a bit of that, but it's just, like I'd be I'd be the type that, like, I enjoy being on my own. Like, I love being with people, but I really value, like, the time on my own. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of that. There's a bit of getting away from civilization, like, in a sense. But obviously you can't, you know, you can't be a lone wolf.
Yeah.
You need people. Like, so, yeah. Not like completely, you know, in the Amazon, but, you know,
just on
a
the
midpoint.
on the outskirts.
But what you, like you said, with the, you know, the romantic ideas you have, like I had this idea, go to Spain, put the head down, like we talked about, no distractions, no one getting in the way.
Start a vineyard.
And then your mind just starts like replacing the distractions you had with
100%.
other distractions.
Exactly.
You know, whether that's going on Tinder or fucking checking out the coastline or whatever it is. I know you have to have it.
Going on Tinder, checking out the ladies, going to the
You
modeling
need to have,
expedition.
obviously, look, you don't want to be, you need some free time. You need to
100%.
fucking relax.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not everything that you big it up to
No.
be in your head, and it never is.
It's not, the answer isn't, it's not out there, it's in here, it's within. So I fall into this habit. If I only had X, if I didn't have to do Y, then things would be better, I'd be more productive, I'd be this and that. But the reality is, like, that's just an illusion, like a figment in a way. All that I can do is actually control what I'm doing in the current moment, and any projections into perceived these are problems that I need to, that if I didn't have, it'd be fine. I'm still right. Let's say I could wave that magic wand and everything is grand. I have everything set up.
Yeah.
I still have to do, let's say, record. Like, imagine, I can't start recording until I build a big shed out the back and have a big recording studio. Or I need to get this little gadget. I need this next gadget, which is a problem that I fall into a bit. I mean, look at the microphones and everything else. But I do feel that I try to get the most value with as little purchases as possible. I know it doesn't look like that, but you can always go more with the purchases. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, it's usually you need to get started, or you need to make the change within. Not usually, always, because there's stuff that you're blaming that isn't actually the problem. The problem is that you need to change fundamentally as a person.
It's a form of procrastination as well. Like,
yeah.
And you're just giving yourself an out or excuses.
Yeah.
When really there's no magic bullet. It's just like you just have to go and do the thing.
Yeah. No, 100%. And so then in Malaga, what was your sleep like over there?
Like, I'm not a great sleeper anyway, but yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, the heat. Like, you have aircon 24/7, but yeah, like it wasn't great. Like,
yeah,
but it's grand. Like, you just you just get on with it. Like.
You kind of adapt. That's another thing. You put sleep on a pedestal sometimes, but you can actually operate pretty good on less sleep. Although it is obviously more beneficial to your overall life and longevity to be getting good sleep. You know, humans, when we have children, for example, sleep gets disrupted like nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, the war stories I've heard from my good friend Chuck and his wife Ting, to Cal, you know, and then it just seems that it's just out the window. Sleep is completely, like, it's there's no way to grasp it, because you're just getting randomly woken up.
Yeah, and we found that when we came home from Malaga, because you and the lads came over then for Luke's birthday to finish the trip off. But we had a flight booked the next morning at 6 a.m. Never book a 6 a.m. flight.
Never ever book a 6 a.m. flight.
We got there was strikes in the airport, so we had to get a taxi at 3 a.m. Went to bed at like 1. But yeah, so you fuck all sleep, and then when you get home though, that night, your body just catches up. I slept for like 14 hours or whatever. Yeah. So it's like you always seem to get what you need. Oh, it 100%. Seems. So
well, you can manage. Like, this is the other thing I was thinking yesterday. So I was doing an open mic, but I stopped eating. I stopped eating at around 5 yesterday, and then I didn't eat. I didn't have any more calories for the rest of that day, and I was getting a little bit hungry, and I was just thinking, well, how long can humans go without food? We can go 3 days without food. You know what I mean?
No.
Theoretically.
Water, you mean?
Oh no, 3 days without water.
Yeah, you can
And-
fucking go.
Yeah, sorry. You can go multiple. You can go like
Yeah.
20. You can reach. We can
40,
survive
50,
without food.
50 days.
So I'm hungry in this moment, right? But what? Like I'm not gonna die because I'm hungry. I don't need to satisfy this need, in relation to my health. Now maybe you could say, oh well, you'll lose muscle mass, you lose this and that. But I don't think a little bit of a window of fasting isn't gonna kill anybody, and not getting your little meal isn't gonna kill anybody.
We're just very comfortable. Like.
So comfortable. Man. Yeah.
So
and that was just one of the things I realised. I have people in Auschwitz that survived the most horrendous situations. You have people
people 5 years in a concentration camp. It's like, what was their sleep like?
That's what I mean. And we're complaining about stupid things that that we just have to. If we just like shut our mouths and just put up with a little bit of stress, and it's the stress about the stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the vicious circle. Like when you resist the stress, it's like I didn't get enough sleep, and then it's just like, well, now you're telling yourself you didn't get enough sleep, and now you're amplifying
your whole picture.
You're amplifying the problem. So yeah, it's just trying to break these mental loops.
Yeah, because we get it's the loop of just the thing. It eats its own head. You don't get a good night's sleep, so then you're worried about your sleep and you're anxious about it, and then you wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking, oh no, I'm not getting enough sleep. Like now tomorrow's going to be terrible. Blah 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 blah. But if you actually don't worry about it, it's actually grand. Obviously, do your best to get your sleep and whatever else, but or get your food, get your meals, like do things, but don't. It's not like it's like people with their step counters. You know what I mean? Like people, I go on walks with people and they go, oh, my watch wasn't on. And it's like, we did the walk, you know what I mean? We did that walk. You don't need...
Yeah, I think they're gamifying.
Yeah.
Which can be a good thing.
Oh no, it's definitely a good thing because in terms of what it promotes, but you have to also be able to zoom out, you know what I mean? That it's not actually important if it's on or off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Although it does add to the gamification element, because if you didn't care, maybe then it doesn't really matter if it's on or off. But it's just like, and 10,000 steps is like an arbitrary number as well. You know what I mean? It's like a good, nice number apparently.
Yeah.
Did you look into this?
I seen a study like about, I think it was about people who would average 10,000 steps a day. They had like a longer life expectancy or something like that.
But I think the number is like 9,327 steps. No, yes.
Yeah, it's like an hour. Yeah, it's like an hour of walking.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a number. We like numbers. We like nice round numbers.
Yeah,
numbers are so strange. I don't want to get too into numbers, but
there's so many rabbit holes.
10. Like think about the number 10.
10's a lovely number.
It's such a beautiful number, and it's like a property of numbers. Like 10, 20, 30, 40.
It just flows into the next sequence.
Beautiful numbers. Numbers are so fundamentally like symmetrical and beautiful, but there's actually different number systems that don't use 10 as its we like, I forget what we call our type of number system, but it uses 10 as like its breaking point or whatever. There's other numbers that use like 12 and weird 13, like weird numbers where it's hard to actually,
they're missing out.
Yeah, to say 100 in their number, it's just weird. It's like pounds and kilograms or something.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
But yeah, we'll stay clear of the numerology.
Before we move on, you're talking about the anxiety and worrying about this and worrying about that. I think for us, and you'll probably have gathered it already, I'd say I've done personality tests and things like that. And I know, look, you don't want to get boxed into any personality type, because through voluntary exposure you can transform who you are. I've experienced that myself, but we're definitely high in neuroticism, no doubt about it. So that was a really important trait to have.
What does that mean?
So like, if go back 50,000 years where the comfort's gone and everything outside is a threat. It's like, okay, if you have someone who's high in neuroticism, they're always planning ahead. They're always figuring out ways that we could get caught out by predators, ways that we could be hunted. So they're constantly worrying and constantly figuring out things. Where you have someone who's less neurotic, but they're more extroverted, so they can lead and they can be the ones to take down the threats. So every personality trait, although it might seem as a negative, say, where you're high in neuroticism and you're constantly worrying about your health, you're constantly worrying about this, that, bills, and other things. It was essential back when we were in tribes, small tribes trying to survive, where survival wasn't guaranteed. So, yeah, it's like every trait on the spectrum has a fundamental role in like humans and their survival.
Both like there's a positive element and a more negative element. But in certain situations, you know, high neuroticism, like you were saying 50,000 years ago, would probably be pretty useful. You know, when we imagine you were sort of these nomadic tribes of humans, right? And I'm on some hill, and I'm just out like tending to me potatoes or whatever I was doing.
Stroking your hay.
Yeah, stroking my hay, whispering sweet nothings to make sure that it grows nicely. And
that was our medicine.
Yeah. And then I just look and I catch another human, right, looking at me like in the distance. I'm just like, oh no, a human. Like the worst thing I could see is a human that I don't know back then. They're little bastards.
They know how
not a fucking human.
They know how to use tools like no one else.
And then what does that mean? It's like, oh no, are they gonna kill me? Basically, that's what I'd be thinking straight away. Or I hope that I'd be thinking. I'm like, you don't want to be like, come on in. No, not my wife, not my wife.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. So. It's just that now we don't really see, because we've no real worries.
Yeah, we just create problems for ourselves, like sleep or
I
didn't have my third meal today. Yeah, so it's trying to you're trying to combat your natural human tendencies.
It's just about being aware, and then
being aware is important.
That like it's just when you know, these things become a bit you don't want to become debilitating in a way. That's where you have to kind of there's uses for all these things, but when you're getting into a really bad headspace with, let's say, anxious thinking, like for me with my health, I start checking in on my body and I'm like, oh, what's that little new thing that wasn't there before, what's this, blah blah.
Yeah, gathers
like, whoa, relax.
It's a gathering storm, like.
Part of being a human, and not like you have this strange mechanism that isn't just gonna be, you know, it's like flying in an airplane. Planes are moving through the sky, right? And they're like, we expect them to just be nice and still and flat. It's a crazy thing. They're traveling it so fast. Same with our bodies. It's not just it's going to be aches and pains and throbbings and other things.
Yeah, it's just part of it. Yeah,
exactly. So, but the personality test is good because it kind of tells you what you kind of know already. In a way.
You're like, oh, I kind of knew that about myself, but it kind of, it just lets you know more about your tendencies, and then, you know, I'd be amiss if I didn't tie that to something career related. But you know, it's a good idea to do personality tests, because you can then find out, okay, what do I lean into? Do I get energy from being in crowds, or do like gatherings take my energy away? Does it cost me a lot of mental energy to be around people? So like, you know, you can find out if you lean more towards extroverted or introverted, and then, you know, you can kind of find a job that molds to your personality rather than trying to mold your personality to a job. Starting off, and then obviously work from there. But that's kind of how you give yourself a head start in the professional world, or if you're setting up your own business, what pathway to take. That's kind of how you can give yourself the competitive advantage. Yeah. And like we touched on, not to say that someone who's introverted can't become extroverted.
Can never be in management, can never do seemingly extroverted positions, whatever. Yeah. Like you're saying, gradual exposure. Like
voluntary exposure. Yeah, it's the only way to get over fear.
Tim Ferriss would class himself as an introvert. Max Friedman would class himself as an introvert. These lads are massive podcasters, have done, you know, talks, lectures, TED Talks, all the rest. You know what I mean?
Billions of views.
Like I'm as a real extrovert, the thing that I see is that I actually get energy from crowds and people and attention. Like that's like that invigorates me.
You turn up.
Yeah, I turn up. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like I'd be tired obviously after it, but during it, I'm just getting in, I'm swimming around, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, give me some of that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's
and it's funny because I'm the opposite. I'd be drained by all of that. And it's just funny how, you know, we grow up in the same family.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're just completely extroverted.
But it's weird because when I've like my good friend Chuck, he'd classify himself as more as an introvert. But when it's me and Chuck or it's me and you know what I mean? I never get a sniff of introversion. You know what I mean? It's like I can see it more when it's in the crowd dynamic.
Yeah.
When it's one-on-one, it's just like it's like what? There's no sort of barriers. There's no anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're completely comfortable in your own skin.
But then I suppose then I'm just trying to pin down what it is that sort of separates the two personality types, because it's not good or bad as well. And I had this conversation when I was out at a kind of work thing in London, where. Okay, so let's say there's someone that's more quiet and that's their way real on the introvert scale, and they're at the party.
Yeah.
They don't speak up, they're not having a good time. But then the extroverted people, they're like blah 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 blah. Yeah, they're just getting things going. And then the other people that aren't talking, do you know what I fucking hate? Like, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you doing this? There's nothing fucking worse to say to somebody than that, because it elevates the problem. It turns it up. It's like now they're more worried about the fact that they haven't talked.
The spotlight.
Who gives a fuck if they're not talking, right? Because that's their personality type, and that's how they sit there and bear this more than likely uncomfortable situation. And it's not that they. And like, it's not like they need to. They don't need to be extroverted unless that's something that they want to do. Because you might if you look at extroversion and you say my life would be enhanced if I was an extrovert, then I want to move towards that. But other than that, being introvert is fucking grand in my book. You know what I mean?
Everything's grand.
Everything is grand, and people, it's us. We the extroverts, we seem now. There's two sides of it. You know what I mean? Because we definitely can rub people up the wrong way with our big loud mouths. Like even last night at the open mic, it was good crack. You know what I mean? I was having a good crack, but I said your man. We were having jokes and all, but I said I made it. He was trying to be sincere, right? And he was like, "You are the nicest bunch of people. You're man minty." And I had a joke, right? And I was like, "You say that every time," because that was my first time there, and I thought that was the joke. But it did not go down well, and I really, in particular, I think one lad really didn't like it, and I felt I can feel I'm real aware of rubbing people up the wrong way, but that's my burden, you know what I mean? Because when you throw it out there unfiltered in a way,
you're just rolling the dice,
and people like we were saying before, and this is something you've had to kind of internalize, and something that I've seen you and trying to impose any sort of advice onto you as in your journey was to realize, and this I had to give myself this advice as well, is that people are going to hate what you do. You know what I mean? People are going to really hate what you do. Not just hate, but they're going to like really hate it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then people are out there and because you are, let's say it's a percentages or whatever, so let's say like 5% always hate what you do,
no matter what. The more you when you reach more people, you're going to get lots more. That 5% expands.
That 5% expands
from 100 people to 1,000 people.
Exactly, and there's people listening to this now that listen to me that think, this fucking lad talking shy. Who is he? Like, what's all this setup? I don't like it. I don't like any of this.
Who's he trying to be?
Like? Yeah, who's he trying to be? No. What's he saying? Little dope with his little pretending to be Joe Rogan or whatever.
With his Michael Jackson voice.
Exactly. But now I do think that hate is usually in a place where you have to examine why you really hate it. Like, let's say, for example, there's stuff that I don't like that's not my cup of tea, but it's rare that I'll say, like, I hate what you're doing. Like, you should stop what you're doing. You're a fucking idiot. You know, if I see people pursuing anything really that in whatever form they're able to express, because we all have different abilities and we're all at different stages of development as well. So just because you're in the ivory tower, or in some respect, doesn't mean that you have the right to say, like, that person can't do something or they shouldn't do something. It's like, it's not my cup of tea. But fair play to them. I won't be listening to it. I won't be this, but fair play.
Yeah. It is a tough one. Like I experience it quite a bit. It's like with what I'm doing, I'm just trying to find the best way for people to navigate through their career, so they can, because it's, you know, the workforce is just a messed up system altogether. It's like there's no fairness at all. It's like it's who you know, not what you know. Like all these sayings and statements, like, you know, they stick around because they're true. Even getting a job, it's just like we came across it. I posted a video where it's like companies are just posting fake jobs all the time because it's part of their policy, where, you know, they have to give everyone fair opportunities. So they'll post up a job and they might get 200 applicants and people are tailoring their CV and their cover letter, and they're spending all this time for something that doesn't exist. So there's all this like nonsense. So like what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to help people navigate through all of that mess. And I get serious hate. Like Facebook, man, is just, you'll just get people just going, how do I block this absolute shy talker? And fair enough, some of the content I'll put out would be geared towards maybe, you know, senior management roles. I can't attend to every work scenario in a 30-second clip. So if someone sees me saying, oh, you should do this in your interview, and let's say they're a construction worker, they're a labourer, or they're a chef, and it has no bearing at all on what they do, I'll just get abused for that. Or perhaps someone had a different experience to what I'm saying. I'm going off systematic best practices, but that doesn't mean that an outlier case doesn't exist and doesn't contradict everything that I'm saying. So, and because everyone is in the workforce, everyone will have an opinion that's real, and it's real to them, and that's their truth. So I have to be aware of all that and understand that the abuse I'm getting is coming from a place based on, you know, their entire experience.
Yeah, and it's just a totally different viewpoint than
totally
what you
different
have.
viewpoint, and it like it can get to you, like, because I'm like, I could be a little sensitive creature where you're like, I'm just fucking trying to help you, and and then I'm just getting called like whatever, this, that, and other. And the thing about the comments is they're really good because you can learn, like, other people have really, really good perspectives on things, and it can teach you new ways of learning, or you know, you can tweak what you know or whatever it is. So it is valuable to read the comments, but you kind of have to go in there, and something you said really helped me. It's just like, just laugh at it. It's funny. People like calling you a shy talker. It's like, it's pretty funny. Yeah. Like,
it's hilarious. That's the way you have to frame it as.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at feedback, and you have to try to be objective, right? Some feedback could be positive, depending on if it's coming from a good place. Some of it can be abrasive, and be real sharp, like you need to stop what you're doing or whatever.
That would be, yeah.
And maybe there's a hint of some sniff of something in there, maybe. But you have to, if you're self-aware enough, like, this is where it comes down to. You realise all you're doing is trying to help people, right?
Yeah.
That's what something you just said. So with that awareness, then going in, and someone says you need to stop what you're doing, it's like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense, that bit of feedback, you know? And it's like, oh, did you think about the poor air hostess who this doesn't apply to? It's like, okay, well, you know, I wasn't actually talking to them. They're saying that it doesn't apply to them. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone. That's actually fine as well. And then someone says, you know, you have something on your suit. There's a bit of a stain. And then you're like, damn. All right, I need to make sure I have a clean suit next time.
Yeah. Someone said that in video. Like, whatever way I was holding the camera, I had a massive crease in the suit. And someone said it to me. I was like, oh, that's good feedback.
That's great
Or people sometimes will correct my grammar. It's like, oh, you should have said, you know, whatever variation of the word. It's just like, oh, I didn't think of that.
I actually like that as well.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, we obviously have a negative bias where, you know, 1,000 people might like the video, but you might get 2 or 3 comments that that's all you remember after, which is
100%.
funny. So
It's so crazy.
It's
the
crazy,
same thing
yeah.
happened even when I was driving back from the open mic. I was just thinking at one moment, but I wasn't thinking of after I finished my songs, like the comments that I was getting from people, like just saying, you know, like one lad in particular, an older gentleman who got up and sang some really good written songs. He was like, "Man, you're a word." He said, "You're a wordsmith," and I was like, "Oh, that's unreal." And then he got up and did it, and because I'm starting to believe more in the songs that I'm singing in a way, and I'm looking at them more because I'm performing them more in front of people. And then, you know, I was getting, it was like positive feedback, but then obviously just people that aren't going to like it. Like there were these real, really amazingly talented rappers.
real cool guys.
They were super cool, right? And they were fucking unbelievable. They were actually, there was this lad Casey who was so unbelievably technical and lyrical and has obviously experienced a lot growing up in Crumlin, it sounded like, but I actually couldn't believe the level of the dexterity with language that he had.
Yeah.
And then there was another guy who 19-year-old now, I can't remember his name. This is the problem with names. It's like names need to be need to keep them simple enough so you can remember. I think his name, with the other lad's name, was a bit more complicated. Really good on the guitar.
Yeah.
Really good rapper as well. Like
Yeah.
these lads, but he was singing. This lad's probably going to be. I think, you know, and your man KC. I was like, if you get to, these lads have massive, serious potential. The thing with rap, what I realise is, or how, I don't know how they describe. You know what I mean? I don't want to be describing it in a way that's not how they describe it, but the power in their words, the strength of the intonation that they use, and just the amount of words, the amount of actual written content that goes into the songs is outrageous versus stuff that I write. Now I agonise over sentences and it takes me a very long time to write stuff. But you know, when I get up and sing, you know, some cheesy songs about heartbreak, and then you have some guy singing about, you know, the council estates and the woes and the real sort of dire situations.
Yeah.
You know, we're not in the same circle. You know what I mean? But I love actual, like, all music really. You know what I mean? And all the different aspects, because there's so many ways to slice music. You know what I mean? Do you like the melody? Do you like the word choice? Do you like the metaphors? Do you like the rhyming structure? You know, do you like the hook, the main hook? Like, is it catchy? You know what I mean? What are the words you're using? The wordplay, the beat, the actual groove of the song. Like, there's so many ways to slice it, and everyone's looking at it from a different point of view. So for these guys, they're probably, now this is probably just, you know, impressing on them. But because they're so technical and lyrically talented in a way that, like, it's all about wordplay and technicality and rhyming, and it's just like gritty, hardcore, no bullshit stuff. We're not gonna, I can't imagine them listening to some of the stuff I do. But that being said, it's like, well, that's why there's different tastes. You know what I mean? People have different tastes for different things, you know what I mean? And it's just something that we that's really amazing about us, you know what I mean? Because it'd be so bland if we didn't have all the same taste, and there's an audience for everybody. And the other side of that coin, there's haters for everybody as well, like serious, massive hatred for people. As in, not hatred, but let's say distaste. Let's at least distaste. And I think hatred is probably from it's just a bad place, like, because they have rules and stuff in their head that they don't even realize is dictating their emotional state towards somebody. They don't need to ever hate anybody or despise, or, you know, they can dislike something, but to go that step further, to, like, really, like, that kind of it can come from, obviously, jealousy is a big driver, and, you know, just
maybe a reminder as well of, you know, maybe they're inactive or they're not taking the action that they know they should be taking, and when they see someone taking action, it's like, fuck that guy or fuck that girl, whoever. It can be a reminder, it can be a mirror as well. That's a big thing, where it's like, and I go through that as well, where you see people, you know, you can get jealous of someone's success and see what they're doing, and it is like a reflection. You're like, why am I not there myself? And instead of taking responsibility, you know, you end up like reversing it, and as a defense mechanism, you put hate on them, or you say, you know, they don't do this well.
Yeah.
You find cracks in their armor, and that you know that kind of,
it's your sort of story.
yeah, and it makes you feel better about where you are now, because you know, like deep down in your soul, that
I know
you're not where you should be, or you're not where you want to be, not where you should be. So I think that's something I think everyone goes through. If anyone says they don't get jealous of other people, I think it's just part and parcel. But you need to understand that there's enough pie to go around for everyone.
Yeah.
Like literally, like even if you were to set up a business and just replicate, you don't even have to reinvent the wheel. If something's working right now, you could replicate that and just, you know, maybe have your own tweak, your own version, put your own unique spin on it, and it would make money. And you'd have whatever someone else's success is in that exact same niche or industry will not affect you in the slightest, because there's so much to go around. So I think that's another thing where you can think someone is taking off your plate as well, especially, you know, if you're looking at people who are in the same domain as you.
100%.
And you need to be aware of that as well, because it's made up. It's, you know, it's the mind figuring out, like,
competition for attention or whatever as well.
Yeah, that as well. But
or just competition in general.
Yeah, at the end of the day, your mind is, you're internalizing that as they're a threat to your survival. They're taking food off your plate. So that's where the hate can come from, if you try and get into the root of it.
Fundamentally,
yeah. So where does it spawn from? So, and none of that is real.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, because I think if you follow literally any sort of human emotion, it comes back to survival. Like if imagine there was you start off at, like, you know, jealousy or whatever, hate, or even happiness. You know what I mean?
The surface.
Where's this coming from? Oh, happiness. It means I'm not anxious about the future. It means that I have these boxes ticked. Blah blah. It means I can survive. Jealousy. Blah, blah. Jealousy, because our emotional state produces action. You know what I mean? So jealousy may produce, we want to demolish this other person, perhaps. We want them to not succeed, and our actions and words and how we talk about them will sort of make sure that it's always keeping them not from rising or whatever, because we're worried about them rising. So competition's a big one, actually. That's something I didn't realise. But like you were saying, we're all susceptible to that. I'm not above like jealousy or feeling that there's competition. But what I've gotten good at in the last few years is just is trying to flip it in a way that it's inspiration. When I see it out there, and this, when people say you should only compare yourself against who you were yesterday, that's like a really good mantra, and it's something that we should all aspire to. I don't think we'll ever fully get to that place unless we're Buddhist monks, and maybe there's some people out there who say it. But comparative nature is something that's part of us as well. But we definitely should strive to just compare ourselves against ourselves, or compare ourselves against ourselves, and then everything else is actually fine. And then, for example, the music, because I'm pursuing it, and it's not purely just for financial gain. I'm not thinking. There's like the pie doesn't really matter to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just like
your survival doesn't.
My survival doesn't depend on this, so it's actually a lot better. And whether someone else succeeds or not, but whether succeeds or not, like fundamentally doesn't matter to anything we do. You know what I mean? Like you were saying.
No, it doesn't have any bearing on what you can do and what you can go out and get.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's good to flip it.
Yeah.
Like, and big other people up as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you want to grow your network, because, you know, when you help others, just as a natural consequence, it will come back to you as well. And I'm not saying, you know, manipulate other people by helping them, so, you know, and you're hoping of a future where it comes back to you. But if it fucking feels good to help other people as well.
100%.
And obviously there's always going to be self-interest like mixed into the pot, but at the same time, it's like, if I'm pumping out tips, like whatever, I try to get out like 2 advice videos a day on TikTok or Instagram, and if I see someone put out a really smart like tweet on, you know, some way to navigate the interview process, whatever, I'll just fucking read that tweet out and just go, check this lad out. This is actually class. Rather than just trying to reword it and spew it out under my own umbrella, which, you know, people do and you can do. But that feels good. And then you're bigging them up and then your network's grown. And because you're building up a network with people in your space, well, then it's like, then you get invited on to do a live LinkedIn career session with them. And now they're inviting you to reach their audience, which is something that happened to me recently. And then, you know, we're doing a dual session where we're both CV writers, but he's giving me access to his audience where I'm now getting a front seat and people are getting to know my name. So that's the beauty of, like you said, flipping it around and rather than seeing it as a threat.
Yeah, and it's like that old saying goes, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats in a way. But like you're saying, there's that first layer, right, which is, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. But then there's the second layer, which is, okay, if you help your overall industry gain more exposure and lift it, well then, because you're developing your position in this industry or domain, then by helping the domain in general, it's going to boost you as well. It's going to help yours. And then there's the other layer as well, which is just, if you make the world a little bit better, the world that you're living in is the world that you're living in. So that means your world is actually getting better. So it's always, it's good to think on an individual level, but there's layers and layers of good to you and your overall being and experience that you can have even a small impact in by just by trying to be nicer, but to other people and respectful and being a champion for other people, like you're saying, when you see good content. Don't be afraid to say, like I don't want to give him exposure.
That fucker, like I should have thought of that. It's like, no. Exactly.
And it's good to see and none of our ideas are our own, you know what I mean? We're all like just like remixes of the previous thing. We're not original. None of us are original. You know what I mean? We might think we're original, but there's no way we can be original. You know what I mean? If I was just born and thrown into a playpen, do you think I'd come up with music of my version of a song? The structure could be way different than what the typical structure is. The melody, like the genres actually are a limiting factor with music. You know what I mean? Because you don't use let's say there's overlap and everything, but let's say dance music, usually 4 on the floor. That's the basic drum pattern, that kick, and then you usually don't have like a particular, and then the tempo, it's like it's 130 BPM. It's not like, you don't do like a dance fucking song at 50 BPM. So these genres and restrictions actually sort of box you in a positive way, because otherwise you get distracted by the endless, limitless potential of choices. But it just comes back to the idea that we're just remixes of the previous thing. You know what I mean?
Are the Chinese? They have a different view on that, don't they?
Oh yeah,
on plagiarism.
They steal liberally, because it's like, that's a great idea. Now it's time to incorporate this. So one thing that's evident in is,
shout out to the Chinese.
Brilliant group of people there now. Ingenuity.
They're coming for the globe.
Yeah, if you're listening, which is probably no, listen. But it's a cultural thing, like you're saying, because it depends on how you look at ideas. Are ideas our own, or are they just an evolutionary phenomenon that exists in our reality and that come about? We help push the evolution of ideas along. Then a new idea emerges like a flower from the ground. Do you know what I mean? And we say, that's a great idea. Let's grow that flower over here. Something that's big in China, according to a YouTube video I seen not a long time ago. But they have the Eiffel Tower. They have the Colosseum.
Legends.
My friend Chuck, actually, we were talking about this before. The idea, because my thing,
the Spire in Dublin, just
the Spire in Dublin.
Bachelor.
Oh man, they've created little French towns and everything. So it's just like, why not? We'll just build the Colosseum here, and it'll look exactly like it, and it'll be grand. Who cares?
The same rubble.
Who cares, man? Give people the experience.
It's funny. the one domain that no one seems to care about plagiarism is memes. So everyone can just share memes carefree, and no one gets up in arms about
the author is totally unknown.
Yeah, that's one thing. But I experienced this where I'd listened. I can't believe it's taken us this long to reference Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah. Take a shot, hold on.
Everyone at home.
Yeah.
But I listened to something he was talking about on personality traits, and then I had listened to another guy on YouTube. His name's Uber Boyo. He talks a lot about Nietzsche, goes balls to the wall on Carl Jung and the whole lot. And he was talking about ideas around, you know, feeling what's wrong with you, but feeling it in your soul, not feeling it intellectually in the thinking mind, but listening to your actual soul. And he had an idea about the soul, and then Jordan Peterson, he was discussing something about personality traits, and then I created a post on social media that kind of combined the two ideas that sort of made it my own, but it wasn't my own. But it was like a lot of new ideas are through a combination of two people's really good ideas or three people's really good ideas. When you combine them, then that's how a flower can blossom as well. That's what I found, especially when, you know, you're a novice in so many areas and you're trying to research ideas and you're trying to find the best way to do things. It's like, oh, that's a really good thing that he said, if I combine it with this and make this. So that's a big part of the process of new ideas, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think that's actually a natural property of ideas, is that they kind of, they interbreed with each other in a way and synthesize, and they mirror a lot of our own evolution. Like, it's like one of them sort of properties of our reality that mirrors other elements. You know what I mean? So we have like the evolution of ideas, evolution of technology, evolution of like the species, and you know, you can eat.
It's just fractal.
Yeah, it's just fractal.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's just it's amazing the whole structure of reality. Now, it could be unbiased to seeing patterns or whatever, but the more I look in, the more I see the whole kind of reflecting off itself. But I won't dwell too much on the universe for now. Yeah. So I want to bring it back to the TV appearance.
The James Webb
Telescope. Oh, we're going deep.
No, the best.
Now, we will come back to that. No, because you were... this is your first appearance since your... well, not appearance. Obviously, you've been appearing on your own platforms, but your first official televised, semi-televised network appearance since your... I'm going to say appearance again, which is horrendous.
I was on the fucking television.
Yeah, he was on the television on Ireland AM. And he appeared to be making an appearance there. So first of all, how did this come about? Because it was such a surreal... First of all, it was surreal when you told me that you were going to be on the telly. There's just something hilarious about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From me looking in... And, you know, seeing the journey and seeing you navigating and seeing how hard you're working, and then just realising, oh my God, he's getting kind of national sort of recognition in a way, you know what I mean, with that television appearance.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a vindication of yourself and the value that you're putting out, that you're seen as, okay, a valuable commodity in society as a whole at a meta level, you know what I mean? But how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, it came through. Now, I don't know how much, you know, the who you know, not what you know, came into this, but there's a guy in Skerries, Colin Reid. The locals will know him from
hashtag shifts.
Shifts. The
hilarious
Shifts
stuff.
Rob Hanrahan, Owen Renane, Olin.
Yeah.
Am I leaving anyone out?
David Courtney was an original member.
Yeah.
Some of them, like I still them Joe.
Yeah, they still have one-liners.
Let's get a taxi.
Yeah,
man.
like some of them are gold, like the Michael Collins skit. But anyway, Colin Reid, he is his girlfriend is a producer on Ireland AM with Virgin Media, and I think they were just scrolling through TikTok one day and they came across one of my videos, and Catherine's her name, and Catherine said, "Oh, he'd be cool to get on the show," and then I think Colin just sold her the dream. She was saying, I'm local, I live in Skerries, you know, that backstory. So I don't know how much of an influence that had, but, you know, it couldn't hurt, that local connection. But anyway, so the producer reached out, she just sent me an email, just said, do you want to come in for, a short slot, maybe 5 to 7 minutes? And yeah, that was how it came about. Like.
What was your initial reaction?
Yeah, because you never, your mind, it's funny how the mind just plays tricks on you. Your mind tries to protect you. So immediately, like one of the first things is like, oh, I'm not ready for this, is one of the first thoughts that just comes into existence. And I don't know where it comes from, but it comes back to, trying to protect you. You don't want to embarrass yourself, a bit in front of the tribe. You don't want to get ousted by your social circle. So it's all these just protective little layers, bubbles like, oh, don't do it, say no, blah, blah, blah. Like, push it ahead. And it's all, none of that's real. It's none of it. It's just, they're just words floating around, ideas. And you can choose to listen to them or not. And so initially you're just like, okay, I felt ready, to be honest. She gave me a call, and as soon as we started talking, I was like bursting through ideas. We were having a crack. We were talking about, different ways that we could go about it and all. So it felt, not that it was expected, but I felt like, yeah, this is the next stage of the journey. It's like, right, I'm going to go on television and say my piece. So, yeah, it was just like a mixed bag of emotions, like any human would go through, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like just that initial, I'm going to on telly, and then it's like obviously waves, you know what I mean? Sometimes when
you're just like, fuck, I can do this.
And then you're like, no, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I seen, and I always see in both of us even, is just preparation.
Yeah.
If you prepare, preparation removes fear and anxiety. If I'm not prepared, like for my driving test, I went probably a bit overboard on the preparation.
Yeah.
But I was up in Finglas, driving around I did like 4 to 6 hours on the weekend before, back to back. I was like just on my own. I was constantly pushing myself, and I was like, if I'm going into this test, I'm gonna do it as prepared as I can. And obviously that actually was to my detriment, because then I was thinking of too much.
Yeah, put too much
pressure. But that being said, though, the preparation I thought was still necessary and valuable, because it did help alleviate. When I finally did get to pass, I was so well versed. All I had to do was actually just relax.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then, because I actually had all the tools at my disposal, because of all the preparation. But for you, I was just thinking, okay, what segment of knowledge, how am I going to react to these? Like, we were even just saying, when we were sitting down, we were kind of reading it. I was reading out some questions or whatever. We were just thinking, what way would you sit on the couch even?
Yeah, so we were looking up YouTube videos.
Yeah, how do people sit?
How do the guests sit? And then I was replicating that on our own couch.
All right, that seems grand, because you want to be like, what haven't we thought about? If you think about every little detail, then nothing will startle you. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, you know what I mean, it changes when you act. The real thing is never what the thing is. But if the more prepared you are, that's what reduces anxiety, because anxiety really is just it's kind of a response to the unknown in a weird way. You know what I mean?
Well, that's definitely one element. Another element is like the fear of a consequence.
Oh yeah.
So if you think a certain outcome could, come about, well, then that can just like stifle your fears.
You're just sitting there and there's just like a big hole in your pants.
Yeah, or you just like get sick or something.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
But I think, you definitely have a point that you should prepare like you're going to war, like prepare like a professional.
Yeah, prepare like a professional. You're a goddamn professional.
Yeah, but with saying that, like you touched on with the driving test, you can over prepare, and it can be to your detriment, because you can over analyze everything, and that can just startle you. So on reflection, I felt that you should definitely have more faith in who you are and what you do. You should have more trust in yourself, that if you got thrown into the deep end, that you can swim. Because
you learn how to swim.
Yeah, and it's only after the fact you realise it wasn't what you made it out to be. Because when it's all very fast. They put the makeup on you, they put the mic on you, all within 5 minutes, and you're sitting on the couch and they're just saying, just look at us. And and they do the countdown and the cameras are looking at you, and fucking Tommy Bowes in the background with his massive hands. And
it's not just a camera.
And all of that can be a bit overwhelming, but when it comes down to it, you're just talking to someone, like I'm talking to you now. And
look to this, hold on, just cut to the clip at the very beginning of the video. If you all go back to watch the video, when it cuts to Sean or Paddy for the first time, he has a little twitch
there's a chink in the armor.
His face just twitches. It's so funny.
Yeah, I was like a pressure cooker. Yeah. That was all the moment before. It's like so many unknowns. What's going to happen? And I just gave a thumbs up. It was funny, but then they start talking to you, and once you are engaged in the conversation, then you forget the cameras are there, you forget that people are watching, and it's fine. But you only realize that when you go through it.
100%. And
there's always going to be a first time, but now I have a map to navigate. I know what that is. But at the same time, it kind of is what you like. The reality of it is not what you expect, but the idea of it where, there's going to be camera people there's going to be presenters sitting on the couch. It's like there was no surprises there. But yeah, when it comes down to it, you're just having a conversation, and what we're talking about is my bread and butter. And there's a lot of planning and researching that goes on in the background with the actual Ireland AM team and stuff. So, there's no curveballs. And the presenters, Maureen and Alan, if you're listening.
My new friends.
Yeah. Like, they're professionals. They make it very easy for you. They ease in the questions. They know how to set you up. And they make you just feel more relaxed. Now, in saying that, and this is why podcasting has taken off, because long-form conversations are what people want. And these 5 minute, 7 minute segments are more to fill a slot than anything else.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Yeah, like you want the conversation.
Well, thanks for coming on. Sorry, go ahead.
You want the conversation to be as natural and as real as an everyday conversation. That's why podcasting is just so good and so perfect, and why it's taken off. But with these short slots, they're just watching the clock. They're thinking we have a guest to get on in 5 minutes. We got to push in. We got to run through these questions because we're already thinking of the future. So that creates a different element of pressure, but it's good pressure. You want to know what it feels like to be under that pressure, and can you perform under that pressure, and just to get a taste for what that is. And yeah, so of course, with what I'm trying to get out, I would have needed 20, 25 minutes to really, because our goals are very different. I'm there to provide as much value to anyone watching as possible. While that is a small element of what they want, but a big part of it is filling the slot, entertaining people, and then getting the next person on. So we've got conflicting.
And giving exposure to the different people as well.
Of course, yeah, which is amazing, and like I'm unbelievably grateful. Like it was just an amazing experience, because it adds credibility to my enterprise, and it gave me a platform. So yeah, overall, like it was. Yeah, you couldn't ask for any more, in terms of what I'm trying to do. Just get out to as many people as possible.
And how do you feel now that you've done that? What your initial kind of takeaway in terms of how would you capitalize on such an event in a way?
Yeah, it was funny because when I thought about what had happened, like you're trying to reflect on it, it all happened so quick. And everything's like in flashes. But I just thought to myself, if I can convince people to put me on the television wearing a green suit by the name of Paddy Jobsman, it's like, what the fuck else can I do? I just had this realization. It's like, if I can do that, it's just like, if you can really do anything you want. Obviously, when it comes to physical endeavors, there might be some limitations, but really it's just like fucking hell.
There's a lot at our disposal.
Yeah, you really have a lot of power. So
yeah, there's lots we can't do, but there's even more that we can do.
Exactly. So I had that realization. So self-belief wise, I just thought there's infinite possibilities here. But of course, to capitalize, you know, you want to send it off to, you know, the likes of RT. You want to see who else in your network could you connect with, and, you know, use that clip as an audition tape to put forward and see, you know, could I get a series out of this? Could I get on to RTE and do a segment there? Could I get on some of the podcasts in the country and, you know, get my message out? So there's lots, and there's lots that you can do. But
the TV shows is something that I thought straight away. It just, you know what I mean? You're playing with all these ideas. Just imagine Paddy going around and sort of helping people. You know, maybe worried parents are worried about children and the path they're going down. You know, and then they call in Paddy, sort of Pimp My Ride-esque, to come in and
put some 22s on it.
Yeah, we got some 22s on your son, and now he's like hydraulics and whatever else. It would be an interesting angle, and I think it's like it's not just a like Pimp My Ride. You could say, okay, well, it is just frivolous. It's just cars, MTV Cribs. You know, I mean, that's just frivolous. It's not really helping society. You know, it's just elevating. It's trying to shed light on things that really we shouldn't be shedding light on.
It was legendary entertainment.
Oh, it was unreal. We used to love Cribs.
Exhibit, like, just showing off.
And Exhibit. I know. And
Cribs was good. Yeah.
Entertainment as well. But
yeah, to the overall,
what you're doing, there's actual. It's so applicable to other people and their life situation and the modern world and the sort of system of work that we find ourselves in, and helping people navigate that. There's such a broad sort of spectrum of benefits for that in terms of societal benefit. You know what I mean? So it's really it's amazing the feedback you've gotten. You know what I mean, from sort of all corners of the globe, of people just saying, I've seen your video. Now, it's like Jordan Peterson. It's like Joe, he'll describe this as people come up to me and say, I watch your lectures and I got my life in order and my life is better. You know what I mean? It's not now, it's something similar. But I was even hearing him talk about this, like when he's talking about maps of meaning, just recently this morning. I was getting my fix of Jordan Peterson.
9 a.m.
It was early, but
taking
and I've heard him talk about this before. It's his ideas. He's synthesized all the ideas from all these amazing clinicians and philosophers of the past, and he synthesized them into his first book, Maps of Meaning, and his college course, which was based on the book Maps of Meaning, and that's where he sees But that synthesis and merging of ideas is what we're all doing in a way, and we're the conduits for that sort of merger. And so what you're doing now, you're filtering the sort of like all the job, career, all that stuff that's kind of, you know, disparately spread out among the internet and wherever else. You're filtering that down and trying to make it a consumable, as frank and honest, amazing ground gourmet coffee.
20% off with Cold Paddy.
Cold Paddy.
Yeah.
Oh, Basil. Like,
no, it's...
You're just... He's taking my... Like, you're already on the TV.
Paddy's brother, lad.
What we're saying, you're the fit. So the great filter that is Paddy Jobsman. So what... It's not really... I suppose I'm kind of trying to explain your success, but what would you sort of put your success, if you feel that you've had any, which, you know, it's clear it would be dishonest to say that you haven't been successful in what you were doing in terms of what you set out to do, I think. So in that frame, how do you think you have been successful, or why have you been successful, should I say?
I'd say
the green suit.
Well, yeah.
That's it.
Well, how I've helped people is really what it comes down to. So if I show someone an easier pathway to getting a job and they take action on the advice, like you said, I'm trying to distill it down to its simplest form where it's actionable, where it's easy to use. So when people tell me that I was able to help them navigate and get a job or get a pay rise, that's what it's all about. Like that's why I'm doing it. Of course, you know, the self-interest comes into it as well. I want to build a career for myself, and I want to build a platform for myself as well. And it's, you know, it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's like I help you navigate through your career and you follow along. I have a platform, I can reach more people. That makes the enterprise, you know, it allows it to continue, and then I can continue helping people. So it's like,
it needs to be self-sustaining.
Yeah, self-sustaining. So it's a mutual contract between myself and the people who follow along and take action on the tips. So it's really about just trying to simplify, because there's a lot of noise out there. There's you know, there's a lot of complicated advice. So if you can make it easy for people, then they can get the most out of it.
So let's just think for a second. The people that would get the most out of this, who would they be? So they're potentially people who have, let's imagine, I'm trying to figure out the lowest common denominator. So someone with absolutely no experience, dropped out of, or let's not trying to who will get the most value, but what's one of the most difficult starting points for someone as they enter into, you know, the career landscape or whatever, or they want to figure it out, or maybe they don't even want it, maybe they haven't even figured out that they want to figure it out. You know what I mean? They're in this place that of whatever, wherever they are. So I'm going to try to paint that picture now. They've no experience, perhaps. They let's even say they don't even have their leaving cert, and they are, let's say they're 21, maybe, you know what I mean, and they got a bad throw of the dice in whatever way, and they find themselves in this set of life circumstances, and they're fed up with the life that they're living, and they look out and they see, you know, there's potential for a better life. They're not where they are in the potential hierarchies that they're not where they could be. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. They feel there's something in them, I think, that tells them that there's more that I could be doing if I got my act together. Maybe they know that secretly in their head, but
they know.
I think that's what it's. I think that's what the fundamental.
It's the
thing
soul.
is.
The soul tells you.
Yeah,
it's like your gut.
So how does someone from that starting position get going?
Yeah, it all stems from where they want to go. You need to aim at something. If you want to get somewhere, you need to aim at something, and it can be anything. And the best place to start is, you know, it can be the lowest point. It can be just a half a percent more than where you were today. Because let's say you have a goal to the position you described that person is in. They just want to get, you know, part-time work somewhere, just to get paid on a part-time basis. That would be like their ultimate goal. It's like maybe there's 300 steps that they need to take. So it's like break them down and just take one step at a time, because you can always take one step, and that step, it doesn't have to be monumental, but once it's going towards the goal, then you're already on your way. So, you know, you'd have to navigate that plane. You'd have to, you know, this person's confidence is really low. So, you know, you definitely have to work on the mindset and help them start believing in themselves again. But one of the best places to start is, you know, if you've no experience and you want a hiring manager to take a chance on you, is just volunteer work. I mean, charities always need volunteer work. So you could sign up and immediately you have something on your resume. Immediately that you have experience, and build from there, build slowly. If you have the capacity to do it. And
you could formulate that volunteer experience in a variety of ways, you know what I mean? Like, as you've kind of shown in the work that you've done, you know what I mean? The way you can describe your work can elevate it from sort of, you know, mundane, you know, I was a cash register or whatever, or I hung up the clothes, whatever. It's like managed inventory of,
Yeah.
a wide variety of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's a narrative that you can choose that like doesn't sell you or does sell your skills. And, it might not feel like you're making a difference, and you might feel like you could be replaceable. But at the end of the day, like the business or the charity or whatever doesn't exist without you. You are an essential part of that operation. Without you, nothing happens. So it's trying to find the areas where you can demonstrate the scope of your responsibility. Because if you can show that you had any level of responsibility, well then immediately to someone who's looking at your CV, it's like, okay, if this person was able to operate with a team of 20 soup kitchen assistants and, maybe they, looked after 200 people or 300 people, serving them every weekend. It's like those numbers immediately on the piece of paper, they can't be argued. You can't deny those numbers. And to the reader, it's like, okay, this person has clearly a level of competence that establishes trust immediately to the reader. And it's like, okay, I think I'll invite them in for an interview. So it's trying to find the areas where you can show the scope and the scale of what you worked on. And it can be as simple as talking about the number of people you worked with, the number of customers that you served, the number of calls you made. It can be really that simple, but that's how you demonstrate, what you're capable of. That's one of the easiest ways to sell your skills and get the starting point. Just through numbers.
Because numbers, they're like they're a nice marketing ploy if you think about it in a way, because it is marketing. You're marketing yourself in a way, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what, you're the product and you're hoping that they're going to buy you in a sense. So marketing's a great word once you kind of internalize it in a deeper kind of sense. I don't think I never really understood the term for a long time as well.
It's a poor label.
It's a poor label for what it is. But it is what it is, because
it's manipulation.
Yeah, pure. So you want to manipulate
your way to the top.
In a way, like, now we can think about it, babies who are starving and hungry, they cry and they manipulate their parents into feeding them. Dogs manipulate humans into feeding and looking after them. Manipulation doesn't have to be... it can be...
Yeah, it can have a negative connotation.
Exactly.
It's essential.
It sounds
it's
you're trying to manipulate me. It's like, you could say that literally to everything. If I say, have a cup of coffee, you're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to manipulate my energy levels. You're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to Son of a bitch. You're trying to manipulate me by giving me an opinion or advice. You know what I mean? So words don't have to always be the negative. You know what I mean? And we do. It's not our fault, because it's how they're used in culture and society. Even the word stigma and stuff, stereotype. There's plenty of words out there that we just think straight away that's negative, but we don't really go that deep. But marketing you could think is a negative term as well, but really it's it's like promotion of whatever the thing is, in a way that's putting it in the best frame possible. Now obviously you could say there has to be a bit of sort of finagling with especially with the numbers side of it, you know what I mean? Because okay, you can say that you managed the cash register, or you could say, I dealt with like X number of customers,
handled X amount,
because they're both true.
They're
both. It's not like you're lying.
You're just you're changing the narrative to put your best foot forward.
It's like if you're writing a novel, you know what I mean? A good novelist is descriptive and is able to suck you into the story, versus someone that's just saying, the two lads sat down and had a conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
Versus someone else writing the conversation, you know what I mean? And making it more, showing what the conversation was, you know what I mean? Zooming in. It's like zooming in.
Bit of chili sauce.
Yeah, and not afraid to put a bit of chili sauce, because that makes it taste nicer.
Yeah.
And we're all happy with a bit of chili sauce sometimes, unless we don't like our spices. Depends on what variety of chili sauce it is.
But there's just many ways that that you can peel that orange, like, like
Catch that fish.
yeah. When it comes to
If you teach a man.
when it comes to getting a job, it's just it boils down to this person has a set of problems. It's like I need to, if I want to work with that person, I need to strip down what exactly those problems are, and I need to frame my experience so it demonstrates that I can solve those problems. So that's what it boils down to. If anyone, even without experience, you know, you can still frame it in a way where it's like that person on paper is capable of solving my problems. I'm going to have a chat with them. So that's that would be the process to going about putting yourself forward, even without experience. But another way is to, you know, build projects on the side. It's like it could be as simple as a blog post,
Yeah.
you know, writing about a topic you're interested in, trying to build up a mailing list, you know, going onto Canva and, you know, downloading. They've got templates for graphic designs, and you could just redesign. Like one example is charities. They've got no social media team, a lot of them. And if you look at their Facebook page, if you look at their logos, they're all outdated. And you could just go onto Canva, download these professional templates, tailor them for the charities, reach out and say, look, here's a set of, here's a branding pack that you could use. And then when they upload it, you have a portfolio. So you can build out a portfolio. And now you have an in to, if you wanted to go into graphic design or digital marketing or whatever it is. So you can always find creative ways if you don't have experience to create your own experience as well.
Yeah, I think it's called spec work is a term I've heard used. So it's just working for free in a way. Have you ever heard of that term?
No, it's not.
Is it not?
Not yes.
Sorry, Mr. Jobsman.
I've never heard of that.
Spec work, I've heard Tim Ferriss describe Derek Sivers, who
Had a CD baby
lad, massive company, still in production. And actually, I ordered some CDs off him. Or not him, but anyway, he was starting off as a musician, and you know, one of his mantras is, if it isn't a hell yeah, then it's a no. You know what I mean? You know, if your gut is telling you that it's not something you should do. But the other side of that is that when you're trying to build something, you should basically say yes to nearly everything. You know what I mean? Any opportunity that moves you in the right direction. He had this really good story of performing at kind of a circus gig, and it was just a random thing, but he was like, you know what, I'm going to do it because I'm performing or whatever. So it's that getting that exposure, getting that practice until you need it, you know what I mean? Until you can say no, you know what I mean? And you'll know for yourself, is there a benefit to this? Okay, it's a bit of a hassle getting out, like going to the open mic last night. You know, I'm going to be up past my bedtime. I'm going to have to drive in, and now I'm not. Blah blah blah.
There are menial issues when you think about it.
Performing, I realised it's different than busking because I was doing it for the first time, and I was nervous. I was actually shaky a bit, and like my legs. I was singing. I couldn't even see the crowd because the lights were in my face. You know what I mean? It's a very strange experience, but there's something different about performing for people that are all listening to you, and I need to get more comfortable in that space. So now I need to, expose myself more to there.
Yeah, that's an obvious one for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's clear as day. But like for me, say it would be to go on more podcasts, to, you know, tighten up, you know, speaking live in front of people.
Yeah,
that's one thing that would feed into the overall enterprise. So yeah, it's trying to pick out what will accelerate where you want to go.
Exactly. And you have to kind of again, it comes down to awareness, because if we delude ourselves into thinking that I'm better in a certain area than I am, then you're not gonna see the path to benefit or potential growth in that area.
Yeah, we can be very arrogant.
Oh, 100%.
A beautiful quote I heard was, if you're not where you are, if you're not where you want to be right now, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. And I was just like, Jesus, God damn.
Yeah. And in a way, we should never be as good as we think we should be, because that's the thing we're aiming at. If we get to that place, then what are we going to do? We're going to say, I'm done learning now. I'm done. You're never done.
Yeah, but if you're very far away, it's a wake-up call.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah. But again, I actually think we'll never get close if we're diligent enough in creating the more the idyllic version of ourselves. Now it doesn't have to be miles away. There could be different versions along the way. But when we get to another place, and this is what people find, like, you know, Tyson Fury and people who have had, you know, their wildest dreams come true, and then realize that they've nothing to pursue after that because they got it, because they actually achieved that ideal. Then what that was actually driving them, that was actually keeping them going in the game in a way.
And sometimes you can realize it's not what you wanted.
Oh yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
I've talked about this experience way too many times, and it's so trivial. But I had a goal of playing for Skerries Town first team, and I wasn't playing football at the time, and I started training, and like I went all in. Like I was visualizing like getting picked. I was writing down like, I'm going to be on that first team. They're going to pick me. I was playing for the seconds at the time. And I remember a couple of months in, and the first team coach just said, you're in the squad for, it was a midweek game, like, and then like you start getting the shakes. You're like, oh my God, it's happening. And then you're in the dressing room, and the thing that you thought you wanted has come. And immediately the intensity from the second team to the first team was night and day. Like we were going to war. I mean, it was just
serious.
It was such a step up, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like this isn't what I thought it was. What I thought it was at all." And it was in the moment where it's just like, "Fuck! I don't know if I like." And obviously, I was intimidated. It was all new, and that's how I internalized it at the time. So that was just one example where I thought, okay.
And what happened? What was it? How did that story end?
Yeah, so I got on anyway. I got on for the last 10 minutes. It was fucking great. So it was just
that's like, unreal, though.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool that you set a goal and it came to fruition. But then I just, you know, I tethered off. I'd set up my first business in the same year, and then, you know, it could have been a, you know, a defense mechanism where it's like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't know what it was, but you know, how I've internalized it is that this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I thought it would be. It's not fun anymore. It's not enjoyable. So yeah, I'd say I didn't even finish the season that year. I said I'm starting a business. I've no time. So yeah, it didn't work out, but that was just an experience I had where I was like,
to the mountain.
You got to the goal, and then but like you said, there will always be something. When you get to X, then there will be Y.
Yeah,
and it's just
you should nearly think, because there's people, you know, like Christy Moore. You know what I mean? He's in his 80s, still playing guitar. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to keep going, but he loves it, and he's just like, well, let's just keep gigging. Let's not stop this train.
That's what
you know what I mean?
Do, yeah.
And just and people talk about, you know, pensions and retiring, and obviously I think it's sensible to prepare for the future in a way, but you want to try to build a life that you don't want to retire from. Like that is also financially viable in a way.
Yeah.
If preferably, because then you don't need to worry about money or whatever, not too much. And there's stuff you could do. Like, it depends on what you're willing to settle for, and the life that you're going to create doesn't need X, Y, and Z. Like, what do you really need to be content? Like you're saying, you know, a bit of isolation in the woods, bit of Wi-Fi, bit of close by shopping or whatever. You know what I mean?
The simple things.
For me, I'm looking at the van life thing. You know what I mean? A bit, and but then you're thinking, well, do I want a family one day? Like, am I going to have to try and find a woman? You know what I mean? Is that something that I'm
live
going
in the van with you? Like?
Yeah, you don't need the family or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, is that viable?
Get in the van, kids.
Just because you're not interested at the moment doesn't mean I'm closing that door completely to that. But
hello, ladies.
Yeah. This is sponsored by my Tinder profile. If you've probably seen it, if you're watching this. Hopefully now you're stalking me and you're really interested in my Instagram profile. This is for you.
Get in the van.
Get in the van. Oh, it's so nice in the van.
But yeah, I think it would be worth trialing it. Like, maybe rent a van and do it for the month.
Yeah.
And then just, because you have this idea of what van life will be.
Yeah, and then I'm just in hell.
Yeah, so
can't do anything.
I'd say test the waters.
Yeah. Actually, the setup we have here is amazing at the moment. I mean, like being able to just do a podcast, being able to record my music, which I've gotten, that's starting to really start taking on now, and it works. It's working out pretty well in terms of the recording space. My diet, everything. I'm actually enjoying. I'm just like, everything's so nice here. Everything's set up. Like, you probably had that feeling when you went to Malaga. You know what I mean? When the things weren't as routine or whatever.
Yeah, you realise how nice things are and how everything's in order, and
yeah,
I had to buy equipment, things like that. Everything, I had all the mics here and stuff, just the little things.
Yeah.
But it's good to get away and then realise, oh fuck, I have it pretty good.
Yeah, I wonder, does that apply to LinkedIn in a way? If you've been talking about the LinkedIn blues for a bit, and imagine because you say, what if I got away from LinkedIn, and then you realise,
what if I burned LinkedIn to the ground?
What if I could?
What if
I could destroy it all?
Oh, it is.
I was trying to segue there, you know what I mean, in a way. But what is
smooth?
What are the What are the problems you see with LinkedIn, if you don't mind me asking, and you're not worried about ruining your potential future?
I'm fairly vocal about it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, fundamentally, it's always going to be a disingenuous platform, because when people need something from someone, it's like you're going to sell a part of your soul, and no one can be fully authentic because they're held by the neck. How would I describe this? They're tied to their. I shouldn't have said that.
They're strangled against their will.
They can't breathe. They're being held ransom.
They're on death's door.
Yeah. So look, your job equals security, and you don't want anything to prevent you from getting your paycheck at the end of the month. So you can't, I'm not saying everyone, but the majority, from what I've seen, my experience, is that everyone's playing a game where they must act out this character that is, how would you say, is viewed upon in a positive light by their employer. So that muddles the water immediately. Immediately, people can't be who they truly are. And that's why I have such a dislike towards the platform, because it's not truth. The environment isn't based in truth. It's based in, a lot of it is virtue signaling. A lot of it is playing up to the people they work with. And it's funny because the platform will reward you for meaningless contributions.
For example?
That doesn't add value. Like if you're just... Yeah, like if you put out... Let's say if someone puts out a really good 5-step plan for setting up a business, versus if a woman put up a picture of her breastfeeding, or someone taking a picture of a homeless person. This all goes on constantly. Someone took a picture of a homeless person and they talk about how they gave them a pep talk, and they donated to the cause or whatever, and it will blow up, and the algorithm eats that shit up. So it definitely rewards good content, but the type of content that gets pushed is it's based in like virtue signaling. It's based in
positioning.
I'm
posturing.
Posturing. Yeah. So it's all very disingenuous, and it's just very slittery. Like,
yeah.
So
you have to sort of sell your soul away, and not even probably at a deeper fundamental level than people realize. There was just an example during I think it was World War. It could have been American prisoner of war camps or the Vietnam War. who were held captive in China, these Americans, and the Chinese, crafty little devils, so they are, they started getting the Americans to write public declarations of their
It's
reasonings
just not
why.
the Japanese.
No, I think it was Chinese and American.
World War was.
I think it was Vietnam.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure it was Chinese prisoner of war camps. Anyway, doesn't really matter, right? The point is that they got them to start, because it was communism, Japanese.
Yeah, go on.
So they were making them write public declarations of the reasonings to which why communism was a beneficial way to run society, and they'd have to write a little. They wouldn't have the people that wrote just all about the love for communism didn't get rewarded as much as the people who were kind of, debating about communism but showing a little bit of a bias towards communism. So slowly, through they're rewarding these prisoners with cigarettes, more time off, prison rewards or whatever.
Yeah.
And the people slowly started warming up to the idea of communism and the Chinese way of viewing the world, simply because they were writing in a way that was they were basically watching themselves and thinking through these and then convincing themselves. Because if you journal it, for anyone out there, just ask yourself, just do a 5-minute journal on what's currently going into your mind, like a mind dump. You'll find that it's very much like giving advice to yourself and seeing it in a totally different way. And you can kind of through this method that it was used in the prison war camps, you can slowly change your ideas into this new way of thinking. And with LinkedIn, you're seeing all these people making public declarations, of doing all these, virtual signaling activities, and you think you need to start playing that game. So you start playing that game, and then slowly you become the kind of person that plays that game willingly and is now a different human and a different personality in a way.
Yeah. And like, with that being said, like, I get it, but I just don't want any part of it. So I try and just, post and ghost, or there's a select few people who are genuine that I really gravitate towards, and they'll naturally appear on my newsfeed, and I'll connect with them. But yeah, it's a tough platform, and I totally get it. It's like, how can I put my best foot forward so that I look like I'm a contributor, I'm a good person? And because all of that, especially with companies, the way they sell the dream, we're a family, something wrong.
Oh, no, what time is it?
I don't know.
It looks like it's 1:10 or something. But you go on?
Oh, we have time.
Oh, we have time. Oh, grand.
Sure.
You go.
You're giving me a lift.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just making sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. What was I saying?
People having to... Yeah, it's 1:10. So what time did we leave at?
Before 2.
Before 2. All right, grand. So you were saying how the games that people had to play...
Yeah. So it's like, if I put myself in... if I played a game and I put my best foot forward, I show myself to be virtuous and to be a believer in the values that my employer states on their about page, which was, written up by God knows what legal team, who are just completely separated from what reality is. None of it's real, like company values, all of this nonsense. That company, if things go tits up in the morning, you're gone, mate. And people need to understand that you're like, they're extracting value from you and you're extracting value from them. It's a business transaction. And companies try and dress it up, and, I call it manipulation, where they're selling this dream, where they put up this front. It's, we're transparent. We believe in this. We believe in that. We'll donate. Donations are always good. I'm not hating on donations. But, when it comes down to it, it's like, one good example is like, we're honest and transparent in all our dealings. And then it's like, we won't tell you what the salary is for the job. Like, It's like, but we're always honest and transparent. It's just like there's a complete conflict of interest. So it's just to be virtuous. It's just to put on this front and appear like they're holier than thou, when it's all fake. It's very falsified, and that just it's very frustrating to have to navigate through that bullshit on LinkedIn, because people become entwined into it, and they have to speak the company the what's it 1984.
The company line, would you say?
Yeah, no, the newspeak, is it?
Newspeak, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what there's kind of, there's a mirroring of what's going on there, and you have to
speak in a particular way.
Yeah, or you have to show that you're in line with what the company believes in.
The party line, in a way.
The party line, that's what I'm trying to say. And so, yeah, that's really what the ecosystem is over there.
It's interesting when you mention company values, because company values that live on a website or in a document or whatever, they're not the company values. The company values are sort of these unspeakable or unquantifiable aspects of the company that come about from the company existing in a way.
Yeah,
and
it's the people in it.
Exactly.
The company.
Yeah, it's not. You can't just write down values and say that they're the values. It's like, what are the fundamental values? How you'd have to actually look into the company and seeing how it actually operates. You know what I mean?
It's such a sham, like.
It's insane, man.
Because if like, let's say a murderer gets out, through some technicality, and they sell the dream to some employer, and they get employed and they're running a team. It's like you could have a psychopath, just like ruining people's lives, like making their lives hell. But yeah, on your company website, you have all this made up jibber jabber. The culture is, the people, how they run the operation. That's the real culture. That's behind the veil. The Wizard of Oz.
It's literally like 1984, where let's say an event happens, and there's these institutions in the book that are responsible for sort of changing the stories that exist. So, for example, famine widespread in Africa, or widespread in wherever the location is, and changing it to just saying surplus of food, and they're changing history, changing the news as it's coming in.
Yeah.
And it's similar, these sort of declarations of values that companies are pulling out. It's not real in a way. Like, it's okay to I suppose have something to aspire to, but to claim that, to say that this is our company, it's like, well, what makes it that company? It's how you operate.
Yeah.
And culture is sort of top down as well. You know what I mean? The people at the top
100%.
dictate everything towards the bottom, how open and transparent and honest you are. If the people you're with aren't honest and transparent, your company isn't going to be honest and transparent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just no way. Like, you can espouse all the transparency you want, but if you're afraid to sort of tell your employees exactly what's going on. I've been in companies where, there's this sense that we need to protect people from certain pieces of information, which sometimes, imagine salary. If you let employees know the salaries of everyone, there's pros and cons. One con is that resentment can build or whatever, but it works, I think, in a tiered system. So Amazon have level 1 engineer, level 2, level 3, level 4. So it's okay, all right, that makes sense. But in a startup, people have random things, and whatever, it can be more subjective in a way. I think the subjectivity makes it a bit more dangerous.
Yeah, salary is a tough one, but if you really want to find out what the culture is at a company, and I always recommend people to talk to ex-employees, talk to people who actually worked in the operation within the last year, because if an employer can ask you for references, you should be able to ask for reference. What do you mean you should? Like, you can ask for references. You can find ex-employees very easily on LinkedIn and just have a chat. And, you don't have to dive in and go, what's it like in there? It's just like, I'm thinking about joining this company, this team. I saw you worked under, XYZ. What are your thoughts? Do you have any advice? And just put out the feelers, because if someone is resentful or they had a bad experience, a lot of the times they'll spill that tea and they'll let you know. So that's how you'll find out what the real values are, what the actual culture is.
Yeah, reach out.
In the company.
Glassdoor potentially could be another one, although I don't know what you think about that. I mean, because
companies, I've seen they've.
Oh, my company did. We had a running joke. I won't say the company, but people were leaving these reviews, and everyone there was a separate kind of chat to saying who are making these reviews. This is not. It's all just a farce. Because a few bad reviews can really dictate the hiring possibilities for a company. You know what I mean? And people are just like leave a Glassdoor review, whatever. And it's just disgusting. Really.
There are some there's one guy I follow, and he has this policy, like he's completely open, and let's say he has a team of software developers. If someone gets a raise on the team, and there's pros and cons to this, but first of all, everyone knows each other's salary, and if someone gets a bump, and that might be for, I know performance plays a big role in that, but it could be just that the market rate has gone up. But his policy is that he raises everyone's salary every time someone else's salary goes up. They do that on Netflix as well, funny enough.
Wow.
And he's preaching that, he's putting that out there. So that's the company values in action. It's like when one of us, when one of us, grows or whatever, it's like we all grow together kind of thing. Which is interesting. I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, but it's definitely interesting. And at least, he's staying true to what he believes in.
Yeah, especially, I mean, for bigger companies, obviously there's more more levers to pull, more things you can work. But I just want to come back to something that you said there, because it's interesting. It's something that kind of it's a hard this sort of on the idea that people are, and I've seen YouTubers taking homeless people, for example, and giving them stuff, and making this big thing of it with a video or a post or anything like that. And my initial reaction has always kind of been, why did you have to make a video for this, right? Because surely, like, you're not just doing this for pure honest, good motivations, because you're going to use this for content and you're looking to get clicks or whatever, right? Right. So that's one way to look at it, right? And then I was listening to a podcast with Sam Harris, who had this English philosopher from. He started this a movement called the effective altruism movement. So it's a movement where they do a lot of research into what are the charities that will give the most bang for their buck. Like, they do extensive research. So because one of the big things people say, you don't know where your money is going, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's such a common thing. Effective altruism aims to solve that problem. I think you can save a child's life. Every one of us can, for about $3,000. If you had $3,000 to give, that could actually save a child. Like, you could. The analogy they used, right? So imagine you're wearing your beautiful green $3,000 suit, right? And there's a child in a well or in the lake, and they're drowning, and you're just thinking, I don't want to get my suit wet. But you could actually go in, and we actually can pull that child out now with money, literally. Yeah. That's good. And that podcast actually is generating millions, because like Sam had a good way of reframing this whole problem, and that was a good way to look at it. But we don't see it because we can't visibly see the child, but the child is actually there and they're dying.
Yeah, it paints a picture.
Exactly. Yeah. So, hopefully one day I'll be able to. Well, I will be able to give back one day, in a kind of meaningful way, where you're able to say, I'm actually helping save a life, which is crazy. Like, imagine there's people out there now, like, if they have expendable income, that if they like one pledge from the effective altruism movement that Sam Harris and his company is committed to is 10% of all profits go to these effective charities. And actually, Sam Harris, they did this really cool thing on Waking Up. So for the whole month, like last month, you as a user of the app could potentially get a notification that says, who do you want to give 10 grand to? And they had a selection of charities that they've already kind of pre-vetted. And so you as the user selected where the 10 grand went, because they were donating $1 million to these charities, which was a really cool way of because he's trying to sell the point. You know what I mean? That you, as a user of this app, are helping contribute to the. But his philosophy, his way of like looking at the world is it's been so profound in my own understanding of the world. But this idea then of you do a nice thing, you make a charitable donation, you help somebody, and if you keep that to yourself, well then, what's the likelihood of more events like that happening? They're actually less than if you did a nice thing and told people about it and told more people about it, even though it feels. You have to be careful, right? Because it's like, am I doing it because I want more events like this to happen? Or am I doing it to portray myself in a certain light? It actually is really hard to do a nice thing and not tell people about it. Like, if I even tell people now, you know what I mean? Like, then I'm kind of contradicting away. But something that I like to do when I'm busking especially, and I have loads of coins, and sometimes I get taken advantage of. Like yesterday, I got really taken advantage of. You know, you give someone money and then they go, oh, can you give us another one of them, like another €2 or whatever? And it kind of hurts, you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I gave you money, like, and I'm trying to be nice, whatever. But I can't help, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm suffering, you know what I mean? I have coffees and, you know, sponsored bars or whatever, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
So it's hard. It's hard for me to really have it in my head. So I try if I especially after I busk, and I have like a section of my money that I give, that I have, all right, this is going, I'm going to get any money I see, I'm going to split this with all the people that I see, you know what I mean? And then I'm collecting loads of these brown coins, and all the brown coins, once I fill up this little pot, I'm just going to give it to somebody. I did that before in London. I remember I had loads of change, and this is actually an interesting story. So I had a bag of coins, like all sorts of an arrangement of coins, and I was like, I'm just going to go out and give this to somebody, right? And I went out and I was just walking around looking for a homeless person for ages. And then I was around this place called Shepherd's Bush, and there was a homeless man. He was asleep, literally in front of me. These two lads walked by, and they turned to him and go, huh! Get him a fry, just like, and go, ugh! Like they were like taking the piss out of this poor man. Literally 2 seconds later, I go, don't worry about it. And I handed him this bag of coins. It was unbelievable. And
like a medieval bag of coins.
Yeah, so, and like that's, I'm not saying I'm Mother Teresa or whatever, but that's something that I, like, you know, trying to, it humanises the problem a little bit for me. And, you know, it breaks my heart, like, seeing these people on the streets when you think of them as actual people, who, like, just like ourselves, like, they have, like, they're brothers and sisters, and they're definitely children to somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they were a child, they were a baby.
No matter what,
stage,
they were all a baby and all a child. But then it's like, okay, well, if I'm telling people, like, look at all this great stuff that I'm doing, look at me as I'm making the world a better place. Like, I'm the kind of person that gives money, you're not, like, and it's a judgment value, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it's actually more beneficial, because if I, maybe through this story, people will say, oh, maybe I'll just have, like, if I see a homeless person, I'll give them a few coins, whatever, you know what I mean? If I have it there.
Yeah, you're raising awareness.
I'm raising awareness. So raising awareness of it is, but then...
Overall, it's for the betterment.
Exactly. And even when it's...
Even if you look like a smug bastard, it doesn't matter. But
even in the case of if you are being a smug bastard, because it's actually, it's a weird one, right? Because even if you're doing it for pure selfish, self-promoting motivations, even on LinkedIn,
like the YouTube example,
exactly, what's going to happen? More homeless people get money from people. That's what's going to happen. So it's like,
I know what you're saying.
I hate why you're doing it, but I actually love the outcome from it.
I agree with that 100%. That was a bad example with LinkedIn. It's more so what I was getting at. It's like, I spilled coffee on myself today. Here's 3 things I learned about leadership. Like that kind of stuff. I have seen people post, you know, it's homeless, like more of a picture of homeless people. Yeah. But I agree. It can't do any harm. Yeah. Even though you know, you're like, oh, I don't like why you're doing it, but it's not a bad thing. It's technically probably a net benefit for the good. Yeah. No, you're right. So that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, I thought so as well. And your man, he dedicates
So when he started this, like let's say it was in the 90s, he said, I'm gonna only earn 19 grand a year and donate everything after to charity, everything. But he obviously he took into inflation, so it's 19 grand, whatever that was, back in the day. But he committed to that, and he has a few other people committing to like. It's just trying to get people to commit to a like, let's say another way to earn or to give to charity, right? This is a more effective way. So you could become a CEO of a company, or you could become an expert software engineer working for Facebook or anywhere. And instead of going to work for the charities on the ground, you could actually earn to give in a way. So if you actually set the goal of, I'm going to get to the top of the sort of hierarchical career structures and earn more money that way, then I can give more.
Yeah.
So it's
it's a worthwhile.
There's many ways to contribute in a way. But we're probably going to wrap it up a little bit now.
Yeah.
We're 5 minutes off 2 hours, and it's coming up to lift time, I imagine. But I want to ask a question that I've actually robbed off Lex Friedman, but I've seen other people ask this question as well. But I've seen to be getting... I like playing with this one. And it is, if you could ask the aliens and they came down and they had all the answers for you, what would you ask them if you could only ask them one question?
That's a good one.
See, it's hard. There's many ways to skin the cat.
Yeah, like the mysteries that I obsess over.
World War II in colour.
The cameramen in World War One and World War Two. No. Shout out to every one of them.
Yeah, the fallen heroes.
Yeah.
Watch the microphone.
See, I'd be stuck between asking it's so cliche, but asking about the pyramids, or it's an impossible question to answer, which would be,
But it's not.
like, the way we think about the world is something had to create us for us to exist. But it's like that age-old question: if something had to create us, who created the creator? So I'd ask that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a existence and time and cause and effect are sort of a paradox to, I think, the reality that we find ourselves in. That's why I've been more inclined to think lately that it's just a kind of we can't wrap our consciousness as humans and living organisms. We've adapted to time, and this reality is based in time and linear time. But I think there is sort of a place where potentially the time is it's just a construct that is at play in this reality, like it's part of the game, but it's just we can't think it's like we can't think of 4 dimensions, even though in maths, let's say in string theory, there's up to 11 dimensions. The maths we can probably define, and you can look up. So a good way to think about dimensions, actually, we'll finish on this one, right? So in 2D world, right, there's this really cool sort of thought experiment. It's called Flatland. And so in Flatland, it's all 2D, right? So I take a 3D object. If I move it through Flatland, you're just seeing little slices of this, right?
Yeah, just going across
exactly.
That one edge, yeah.
But this exists. If you're in Flatland, that's what you see.
Yeah.
But there's this third dimension out here that you're not aware of because you're in here, right? And now I can't describe this because we're in 3D.
Yeah.
But in three-dimensional space, shadows are... we are shadows in the 4th dimension, which is an interesting idea. So there's this... if you looked at a square or cube... in the 4 dimensions, there's a nice YouTube sort of diagram that you're not a diagram, but it tries to simulate it, but it has to move in a weird way. It shows you, it tries to get close to it, but we can't. We can never ever get close to it, because we're three-dimensional beings. Because like a shadow in the 2nd dimension is is like the third dimension of like a shadow. Look at a shadow. That's a shadow is a 2D structure.
Yeah,
It only has 2 dimensions.
So in 4D, the shadow.
So when the light shines
3D.
on something in 4D, the shadow will be 3D, which is really interesting. And then obviously as you go up through the dimensions, and
11s.
but that's the mathematical dimensions and other stuff. We don't know. There's the idea is that the dimensions are so kind of tied up into these small, inconceivably small spaces. But we'll leave it there. We'll come back to some other stuff for the next podcast, I guess, on software engineering and all the rest.
Yeah, I'll have to have you on my own maybe when we get set up.
Oh yeah. Oh wait there. Hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 2 hours. And that's where we like to finish it. Thanks very much for coming on. We got to be moving on with the rest of our day now. But thank you for tuning in, Monksy, potentially. Who knows?
Yeah.
See you later, fans of Paddy.
Take care.
Tinder women. Go on.